Okay, I accidentally turned off the thing, I believe. So you have the astral plane and all from there. So that's the universe. So within the basic, the Red Book rules, and then the box set or the BECMI, Basic, Expert, Companion, Master, Immortal, BECMI, BECMI. Okay, BECMI, BECMI. Okay. So what I've done with this is say, okay, I'm going for level 1. Okay, I listed all the monsters by hit dice level. -1, 1, +1, 1 plus, 2, 2 plus, 3. And so the biggest one, and this is 36, which is the sperm whale. 36 hit dice. And then you have the dragon turtle. I went through this earlier today, thinking about how to do this video. Dragon turtle, 30. So, those are the two biggest ones in the basic expert list. And so I made, it's like I said in my last video, it took me 1 week to go through these two to come up with all the monsters levels that are there. Some monsters have multiple levels. Antelopes, variable 1 through 4. They said that typically, let's see here, deer, antelope, and goats typically have 1 or 2. Caribou, oxen have 3. Elk and moose have 4. So in my listings, so I'd have antelope listed as in the level 1 hit dice chart, and then the level 2 hit dice chart, and then a level 3 hit dice chart, and then a level 4 hit dice. So antelopes are listed 4 times. So you know so it took me a week to get all those categorized like that. So the idea was, okay, I got a level 1 character or level 1 party, and what I want to put them up against level 1, under 1, 1 or 1 plus monsters. So I went and so I go to the, since I've made this list, so like for the basic rules, under 1 you have normal bat, giant centipede, goblin, halfling, killer bee, kobold, normal human, NPC party, normal rat, giant rat, sprite. For expert rules under 1 HD, there's just a normal hawk. So you go to you look at the normal bat. This bat is over here. Bats are nocturnal. Moving, okay. They often live in caves and abandoned buildings, so I made it So I made a list. I made it so there's a bat that are nocturnal. Bats live in caves. Bats live in abandoned buildings for environments. They don't have eyes. So they're sonar creatures. Normal bats do not attack men. I say humanoids. But I could, are they talking about humans, or are they talking about dwarves and elves and stuff like that? That's questionable right there. But they may confuse them by flying over their heads. There must be at least 10 bats to confuse one character. We have a penalty to the, so that's not listed. Normal bats must check morale each round unless they are controlled or summoned. So that is also listed. So basically, I go as for normal bats, we have environmental conditions, locations that they're located in, and then you have creatures, monsters that they interact with. Okay, so you have humans, you have summoners, and you have people who control them, controllers and summoners. Now, the bats come in two types. No, we're not going to talk about giant bats because some of them can be vampires. But normal bats, some giant bats, there are two kinds of bats aside from vampire bats. Insectivores and fruit bats. Then you also have vampire bats, which are giant bats. A portion of these can be giant bats. They're level 2, so they're not part of the original. But if you have, because giant bats also live in nocturnal. They're nocturnal. They live in caves and abandoned buildings. So giant bats could technically be in the same environments as normal bats. So you can have giant bats and normal bats in the same place. And then a portion of the giant bats are vampires. Giant bats are carnivorous, meat eaters, and may attack a party if extremely hungry. More dangerous are, however, the giant vampire bats. Does not extra damage, but the victim was paralyzed or failed for 1 to 2 rounds. This would a vampire bat to feed without being disturbed. Draining 1 to 4 points. Any victim dies traveling this way is the same or become an undead creature. Basically, vampire. So, okay, so they say giant bats are not fruit bats. So, but you have insective, you have, so let's see. Okay, so you can have alternate, like I said, insectivore bats, and then fruit bats, and then you have the meat eaters, and then you have the vampires also on top of that. So you can have all that in one setting. You can have a normal bat setting, a giant bat setting. The normal bats, you can have a normal bat insectivoid setting. You have a normal bat fruit bat setting, giant bat, normal, and giant bat vampire. So there are alternate ways you can do that. You can have multiple settings. So there are multiple different environments. So once you go through the list of other monsters that have that are nocturnal, that live in caves and abandoned buildings. Once you make a list of nocturnal creatures, you make a list of cave dwelling creatures, and you make a list of abandoned building creatures. You can, go through so you have to actually read through all of these to find out which creatures live in abandoned buildings, live in caves, which creatures are nocturnal. And then you have, once you get that list, and you start go back, then you go to giant centipedes, follow that system. Giant centipedes. Giant centipedes are that live long bodies, many legs. They like dark and damp places. That could be inside buildings also. So you want, after you do the vampire list, or the dark, you got dark and damp places. You go for monsters seen and both the basic and the expert for all the vampire, the caves and stuff, and you come up with a huge list of monsters that can be used for your wandering tables, for your dungeon. Let's go with it. And then for your wilderness encounters, and you can come up with the terrain that you want for your wilderness to be in, the creatures, and you can set up designing the wilderness. You can create a map based on the monsters that are associated with the bats and with the centipedes and with all the other monsters within this list. And then you can say, okay, I want this group of monsters, I don't want that group of monsters. And going through here, you'll end up with higher level monsters also in the game system. So, yeah, that's how it's going to do things. That's how I generate an environment for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I was trying to do that with AD&D. You've got the Monster Manual. So you got how many monsters, okay, how many pages of monsters you got? You have 103 pages of monsters, so 2 to 4. Sometimes he's got maybe 300 monsters in this book. Okay. And then same thing here. Look at all these monsters. Okay, so you have, again, creatures times 2 is 180, 194 times 3, 27, 284. Wait, 281. Wait, 3, that's 24. 3 times 9 is, yeah, 20. No. I'm losing my math skills. My brain's going Okay, 97 times 3, that's 21. 27, 291. So yeah, you got 300 monsters in here. And then Monster Manual, another 300 monsters. Okay. Yeah, 130, 132 times 3, that's 396, 400. Compared to, how many monsters in here? So you have 44. 44 subtract 30, that's 14 plus 1, 15 pages of monsters. You got, okay, let's say times 4. 15 times 4, that's 60. 75 monsters maybe. Okay. So you got 42. Subtract 29. 42 subtract 28. That's 14. Times 4. Alright, that's 60 monsters. You can go with 75 monsters. Okay, 150 monsters versus 300, 400, 1,000 monsters. That's a lot of DMing preparation. A lot of DM preparation. Dungeon mastering takes a lot of time. A lot of time. So help getting the creating awareness is not easy, no matter how you look at it. If you find a publication that has its random generation, whatever, it's, give or take. The thing about the random monsters tables here, these are the starting points. You need to actually customize your own tables for the adventures that you're going against, for the environments that your characters are in, and for the player characters for your party. If you got one player party, they're like solo playing, or you have a group of players, how you organize that is going to be different, and what levels they are is going to be different. This is generic as far as dungeon level is concerned. But it's actually not adequate. It's, if you're doing a level 1, level 5 character, you're going to encounter the same tables. It's, it's a starting point to get an idea of what you're trying to do here. And same thing with you got more wilderness encounters, subtables. These are generics. You can, change that or create your own counter tables for your wilderness activities. If you do your own stuff, that's time and effort on your part. Okay, let's see here. Character, bit of character. The spells. The adventure. Adventure in the outdoors, adventure in the air. Random dungeon narration, random wilderness terrain, random monster. Okay, so 173. On my side. So these are dungeon generation tables. Okay, this is treasure tables. Sword primary, special purposes. Here we go. Appendices, random dungeon generation. You can do these first. Then you have periodic checks. Side passages. You got all kinds of stuff here to play with. More treasures. Magic pools, gas, subtables, tricks and traps. Caves and caverns. Okay, lakes, magic pool. So, and then you got wilderness terrains. So there's actually a lot here. Way more than what is in the. So you got monster levels. Monster level, and monster level 2, you have a giant badger, giant centipede character, devil lemur. Gaspar Knoll. The hit dice on these monsters on the AD&D is different from what's in the basic. So there's a lot more variety, and so yeah, there is a lot of detail here on the EM guide. We got sonic encounters. So there is a lot here in the Dungeon Master Guide for creating an adventure, random stuff like that. So if you create your own stuff, it's going to take time. If you buy a supplement book like D20 system, which is what I'm familiar with. I don't know the new products that they're advertising on YouTube, but yeah, the D20 system had a lot of tables and stuff that you could work with. It's, how you want to do that. If you do it your own stuff, it's going to take time. This took me 2 days to make this list. Well, first of all, I have the list on my smartphone. I have Notepad free. I have an Android OS smartphone, and so I went to Google Play Store, and they had Android OS. They had a Notepad free. I downloaded and tried it out. It's an excellent text document. Now, you can't put any graphics on it. You can't put pictures in there, but you can do color text. It's interesting how the text system works, the color text system works. But you got a bold font. It's for I grew up on Windows systems, and Windows, Microsoft Windows Write exe apps. I use those all the time, and the Notepad exe apps, I use those all the time. I use the Notepad for Visual Basic coding and GW Basic coding. Well, actually, with GW Basic, I just went into the app itself. I went to DOS. I got out of the Windows, go to DOS, and go to the app, and then code outside of Windows. And then Y2 came along, Windows 2000 came along, and no more GW Basic. So, and then I got a guide on Visual Basic scripts back in 2006, 2008. And I started coding Visual Basic scripts using the WordPad exe on the Microsoft Windows platforms. So I'm pretty happy with that for my text documents. I'm the creator of the File Child Project Man spacecraft design concept, and I use Windows exe apps for my text graphics for the my presentation for the year 2020 AD projects. I swear by that. But when I went to the Android OS, the Write exe did not work at all properly, and I tried out Notepad free, and it worked fine. I never had any complaints. I got nothing but praise for that. So, if you're going to do your own stuff, now I used to, back in my high school years, I did a lot of writing. In the 1990s, I went from handwriting to typing, and then starting around 92, 93, I started going from typing to computers. So I changed a lot. Addresses, my lifestyle was unstable, so being able to do my campaign, was never able to really complete my campaign, but that's the process I did. I made a list of monsters. I made a hit dice list. Then I went through the monster list, see what they have for terrain, what they have for monster encounters. Then for -1 monster, under 1 hit dice monsters, I go through, see who has what, and then I try to find other monsters within the basic and that fits within the environment and within the monster relations. And then make a list of all the monsters associated with that. And then I have myself an environment that I can work with. One other thing I did with the Korean War campaign was decided to how big the world was. And the way I did that was I went through the monsters to see what distance was the greatest distance traveled by the monsters in both the basic and the XC. And then it's like, okay, so 1 day travel was, I think, let's see here. $360 is the biggest one. But for example, so you go, 480. Okay, 480 flying. Yeah, that is. Movement is a matter of number of feet. Monster moves in 1 hour. The number in parentheses is the number then I'm reading from the screen, not the book. Parentheses is the number of feet. In one turn. The parentheses is the number in one combat round. Some monsters have special movement rates, for example, flying, cross, web. So you have 480 feet, one turn. One turn is 10 minutes. 10 minutes times 6 is an hour. Times 24 is a day. Times 30 is a month. So that is 1 month of travel would be equal to 1 climate zone. So you have the equator climate zone, the tropical. Then above the equator is another subtropical, temperate, subtemperate, subarctic, Arctic. So, and then subtropical, temperate, subarctic, Arctic. So Arctic, subarctic, temperate, subtropical, Arctic, subarctic, temperate, subtropical, tropical. So you have 9 temperate zones to go through. So go from pole to pole. So you multiply 400. That's the polar circumference of not circumference, distance, hemisphere distance, polar to polar hemisphere distance that this game world is. That's how big the game world from polar to polar is. 480 feet times 10. Times 6 times 24 times 30. That's how many feet, and then you divide that feet by 5,280. That's miles. So yeah, it's big. It's a lot bigger than the Earth. The Earth has 8,000 feet in diameter. This thing is like 10,000 feet in diameter. If I remember my calculations, something like that. It's big. So yeah, Earth and Traveler is size 8. Size, okay. An asteroid belt or planetoid is 0. So anything under anything under 1,000 miles is an asteroid or a planetoid. So Pluto is about 1,000 miles, so it's a size 1 planet. But this was Pluto's been downgraded to planetoid because of gravitational issues and stuff. But for a traveler, it's still a planet. So, yeah. And Earth, okay, so uh, 80,000 miles. It mentioned it. Oh. Okay. Oh, it's talking about templates. Okay. Then so you go. There's a you can create templates in Traveler to represent gravitational zones. Well, it might be in the Starship section, because Starship has to do with travel. Trade and commerce, drugs, experience. There we go, templates. Is it for, okay, planetary templates. Terra, which is Earth. R equals 8D. Okay, here's example. Okay, it says here K is the density in Earth densities. Okay, Earth is 1. I'm going to crack this in ages. The sample of Earth complete with gravity bound bands for 0.25, 0.5 for 0.75 Gs. Explain book 3. So you can create a template, put your spaceship in there, and then you represent when traveling the distance on your spaceship, see what kind of forces you have. And affecting combat and stuff like that. So there's a lot, if you're going to Game Master or Dungeon Master, you got to put a lot of effort into it. And that includes solo RPG. Being your own game master, you got to put some effort into it. Figure out what your tables are. You're going to want to have. There's certain, like for me, I can't. When I'm looking at the basic rules, this is true back in 1984-86. I was looking at the monsters lists, and I'm seeing. I need this hit dice table. I need the monster alignment table. I need the life forms type tables. And otherwise, I couldn't do anything. So I had to create those tables before I can actually seriously think about doing anything else. The calculation of the planet size is, random. Was okay. I thought that'd be practical because the way Dungeons and Dragons was created, the way these systems were created, all of them, your character is doing one-off adventures. It's like the old TV series that my generation grew up with, the Gen X generation. You watch the episode, there is no sequels. What happened in one episode does not affect another episode. There were some exceptions to that. There were some exceptions from maybe an episode, some last season, affects, there's a storyline this season that happened from last season, or maybe from this storyline is related to episode 2 or 3 episodes ago, or something like that. But originally there was no follow-up storyline plan. It's just a one-off episode, and then someone came up with, well, let's do a sequel to that. That's the way these adventures are designed. You're not planning on doing a campaign. The campaign is your world environment. The campaign is your character doing multiple adventures. So you do a G1 module. G1 is AD&D. But you do a B1 module, then you do a BX module, or, that's, or you convert to the G1 module, that's, that's your character. That's your character's storyline. That's not the game world storyline. That's not where you're dealing with this. Okay, you do not have a campaign. This is your campaign. the campaign is the environment. So you start out with, okay, let's see here. The Haunted Keep is this thing right here. Is the B1 module. I mean, not the B1. This is the Haunted Keep from the basic. Lawn is the base town that you start out in. So then Krakos, I think, is X1. Or oh, no, wait a minute. Maybe I can whip this out. Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to see where the Owl Dread is on here. So there's Lone. There it is. Okay, I'm using the phone instead of. There's Lone. So your the keep is over. The Haunted Keep is in this area. So Spectrum, and then your Krakos is over here. Again, this is the Lone, that's the base town. That's the Haunted Keep from the basic. Let's see how to. They change things. Yeah, okay, so yeah. The monster's in the back, and this is the player's guide. Oops. Yeah, I inked that out so I can photocopy that. And the original, well, you also have that on the back. You can photocopy that on the back, but it doesn't come out as good as sometimes. So it's different from so it's easier to use a published system than to scratch design your own. And this box totally destroyed. I gotta tape it. And so how much effort do you want to put into it? That's up to you. How much time do you have? When you're a high school kid, or you got all kinds of time. But when you're an adult, you don't have so much time.